Now let's talk about building our own knowledge. To do this, I usually start with a new private interest group like this. So I'm going to select physical geography, and I'm going to come up to edit, and I'm going to add an interest. And now I have a new interest group. I select it, and remember I told you when you select it you can do things like edit the settings. So I'm going to edit the settings, and I'm going to change the name of this, and I'm going to call it, let's say that I'm interested in, I don't know, the geography of deserts and salt lakes, salt seas and salt lakes. So I'm going to call it, I'm just going to call it, for purposes of this demo, I'm going to call it desert geography. And I'm not going to change the description. And I update it. It now changes it to that. Now I have a new interest group and I want to add some content to it. I basically have two choices. I can either start from scratch by adding a new context card from scratch, or I can copy from an existing context group, or from an existing interest group, excuse me. So I'm going to start just from scratch to show you how to do that, and then I'll also show you how you can copy. So I'm going to start by adding a new pile. It's the only pile we've got so far, and that is a two-step process. First I add the pile, then I click on the pile to add a new context. Now when I add a new context, I basically give it a couple of words at most, a few words at most, and I can do it in a variety of ways. I can do it freeform, I can search the Ergomy lexicon, or I can search the Wikipedia terms list that they have. So I'm going to start by saying that I'm interested in salt seas, and I'll search on that. And if there's nothing that really fits that already exists, I can simply add my search phrase, and now I have a new context card called Salt Seas, which is under my interest group Desert Geography. Now if I want to add subcontext, that's what's going to go in this compartment here. So I'll take a moment here and describe these two compartments. The top compartment of any interest card, context card, tells you what members there are or what subcontexts there are associated with your parent context. And then the bottom compartment are publications associated with it. And I'll show you some more of that with one that's a little farther along the path to being built. But then I can add context. For example, I've got this selected. Anytime you've got a card selected, you'll know it because it's got this blue border around it. And I'll come up here and I'm going to add a context to the Salt Seas card. And I'm going to do a search on the Great Salt Lake. And I search on that. Now the benefit of choosing one as opposed to just adding it is that often it will come with a description or a definition. And so that's handy to have because then I don't have to add my own definition. It's already associated with the one I select. So I'm going to choose this, and it's a kind of salt sea, and I can add checked. Now when I add it, you'll see it added to the card, but this doesn't go away, and it doesn't go away on purpose because if I want to add several at a time, it's easier if I keep it up. And so now I'm also going to add the Dead Sea, and I can search, and if I see one that I like, I can select it. Now I can add more than one. If I happen to see some other, here's the Mediterranean Dead Sea Canal, let's choose that too. Then for each of them I choose a type, and these are kind of salt seas, although this is probably more of a sea also because it's not technically a sea, it's a canal. And I can click Add Checked, and it should add both of those two to my desert geography interest on as children of the salt seas card that I added. Now I may also want to take advantage of another interest that's already existing, the context cards that are in it. So I'm going to click on physical geography, And now I've got the physical geography card, and I go, that's might be something that's useful to me in my desert geography interest group. And so what I can do is I can come here to desert geography, add a new pile, and then I can take this card and drag it over to that pile. Now I'm not removing it from physical geography, I'm simply making a copy of it. So now you can see that I've got the physical geography in my desert geography as well as its original location in physical geography. So that's one way that I can build my context cards, and I'm going to use a different example in just a minute to show you how to continue to build on the information that you have. But you can see that once you start your own interest group, you have a couple of choices about how you build these context cards. And you're probably going to find that, again, as Ergomy builds in knowledge and in participation, that you're going to start your private interest groups by using existing knowledge that others have started. Now I'm going to come back over to education, to my higher education college search interest that I started. I want to show you a couple more things about the cards and how they work. In this case, I started two parent cards, one called Scholarship and the other one called College. College has two colleges that are of interest to my son currently on it. We've got Southern Oregon University and Embry-Riddle in Prescott, Arizona. And remember I told you that this top compartment shows you the cards that are related to my parent card, College, and then the bottom compartment is the publication compartment. And there's kind of a fun thing, if you will, here. If I uncheck Southern Oregon and we just have our college card, you'll notice there's a publication associated with the college card called U.S. News and World Report College Rankings. And if I click on that and open the publication, it's going to bring it up in my browser. And so that's a publication associated with a college search kind of card. Now if I check Southern Oregon and Embry-Riddle, I'm saying I'm interested not only in the parent card, College, but I'm also interested in two kinds of colleges, two very specific colleges of that parent. And you'll notice that when they're checked, their publications show up down there too. So let me show you a little bit more on this. If I unselect this card, but I have these checked, there are two views. See, I have this view, which is the pile view, which shows me College and then the two college cards underneath it. When I click back on College and select it, you can see that I have those checked. So that's just two views of the same thing. But when I go here, you can see that the Embry-Riddle card has one publication. My Southern Oregon card has a publication. My college card has a publication, but when I have those two cards checked, the publication compartment of College shows all three. So it's kind of a handy way to get to the good stuff, to get to the actual knowledge that's built on these contexts. And it can be filtered back down so that you only see some of it and so forth. So it's really pretty handy. Now when I'm in my search, suppose I click on, let's go back to Embry-Riddle, and I click on that publication, open the publication. Now remember, anytime that you open a particular, there it is, I'm sorry, I had the wrong one. Anytime you open a particular browser location from within Ergomy, Ergomy knows about it and puts it in this browsing activity pane over here. So as long as Ergomy knows about it, you can do things with it. So for example, I clicked on the Prescott, Arizona campus of Embry-Riddle, and now I click, as I'm viewing it and looking through it, I click on financial aid, and I'm curious about their scholarships. So I click on scholarships, and there are my scholarship opportunities. Most of those are internal, but they have some external ones as well. And I go, oh good, we need this information for our scholarship search. So I can come back over here to Ergomy, and I can assign that, and I can change the title. So scholarship opportunities, I'm just going to shorten this to ERAU. And this little summary, if you will, right here, comes up when I hover over a publication. So it's handy to keep that up to date and so that it says something useful. And then the question is, well, where do I store this? What's the best place to store this? Well, fortunately, I can store it in more than one place. So it seems to me that Merit Scholarship is a good place to store it, but also I want it stored with Embry-Riddle. Now, there are some people who say, well, you could have started up a sub-card, a sub-context in Embry-Riddle called Scholarships, and certainly you can do that. There's lots of choices, and it's very flexible about the way you want to do it. But I chose for building my knowledge, I chose to start with two parent cards, one called College and one called Scholarship, and to keep track of them there. But fortunately, when I do find something that's related to both, I can add it to both context cards. And now, when I look at my Embry-Riddle card, and let's just make this easier, let's look at just Embry-Riddle. I can see that I've got my main website here, and then I've got my scholarship opportunities. And then when I come over here and click on Merit Scholarship, there's the scholarship opportunities at Embry-Riddle as well. Now what I hope to do with this, I just built this just this morning, what I hope to do with this is as we find scholarships that are of interest to my son, he'll add them to these various context cards, and we'll probably end up adding a couple of more. He's a Boy Scout, so he'll probably want to look for scholarships that are specifically available to Boy Scouts. And but they've got scholarship drawings. There are lots of things where it's just luck, and then there's merit scholarships, and then there's essay contests, and he'll be able to keep track of all of those many available scholarships down here in the publication compartment and come back to them easily later on. And at the same time, as he's investigating colleges of interest, he can store information about them not only from their website but from other websites that give reviews and rankings of colleges. So that gives you a quick overview of how you might use Ergomy to build your own interest group, like I did here, and then also to store context cards and build contexts that make sense to you. Again, it's all up to you what makes sense to you, and then store publications associated with those. As with everything, when we do these trainings, we always end it with there's more to be found. Go to www.ergomy.com. If you're not already a member, click on the Try Ergomy, and we hope that we'll be hearing from you soon. Thank you.